Good morning everyone, today we're going to be talking about the Argenti weapons because they are not as good as I originally thought they were. But before we jump into all of that, if you're new to the channel, I upload NGS content daily, so if you do play this game, I would really appreciate a subscribe as it really helps out the channel. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin the video. So the very first thing I want to showcase over here is the Argenti weapon itself, and a lot of people, myself included, were misled because of the attack stat. We look at the attack stat, we're like, wow, this is 1000 attack, that's only 94 attack less than the Flugelguard weapon series, and you know, compared to all of the other weapon series, this is bigger number, must be better, right? But what we didn't take into consideration, or at least I didn't take into consideration, was, hey, these weapons are enhanced to plus 70. You can still limit break them and get them to plus 80, and what's even more important is actually the weapon potential. Look at the weapon potential over here, potency plus 30%. If we look at our Veshmel weapon, sure, it's minus 14%, but you get 100% crit rate, which is pretty dang good. And then on top of that, if you have a fixa that increases your crit damage, it's even better. So, you know, Veshmel weapons, maybe not the best example. Christia weapons. Christia weapons is an old weapon. Look at this. It's a 7-star rarity weapon, but potency plus 42%. Significantly better than plus 30%. It's 12% more potency. Then we move on to our Neo A weapons, which is an 8-star rarity weapon, and let's look at the potency over here, plus 38%. But of course, the majority of you guys are probably looking at your Melik weapon series, since this was the weapon that everyone was farming for last week. So you probably have a Melik weapon series that you've invested partially into, only to realize that we got these Argenti weapons, and you're probably very mad at Sega, going like, I spent hours investing into this weapon, I spent all of my hard-earned meseta, and now you're giving me this Argenti weapon, which is supposedly better than the Melik series. This is where we got things wrong, or at least I got things wrong. And the Melik weapon series are still better, significantly better. And the reason is not just because of the attack stat. As you can see over here, when you get it to plus 80, it does go up to 1049, so you do get 49 attack stat more. But on top of that is, of course, the weapon potential. You get 4% more potency, but on top of that, you get all of these useful offensive abilities as well, which actually gives you more DPS. However, do keep in mind that the Melik series do have multiple weapon potentials. As we can see over here, the Twin Daggers, they have the explosive unit, which is a little bit different. It's 27% potency, so people would assume that this is probably worse, since it's 3% less potency, but you also get this gigantic AoE explosion every 10 seconds, so you need to take into account that damage as well. And last but not least is, of course, the different fixes you can get on your Melik series. You can get all of the different fixes and you can level them up all the way up to 5, versus the Argenti weapons where you are stuck with fixed attack 5, you cannot get any other fixa. But enough of me waffling around, let us actually get some cold hard numbers to prove my point. So as we can see over here, this is Cakewalk's DPS calculator or damage calculator. I will leave the link in the description below. Now I will leave the original copy, so when you do open up the link, you are going to need to go to file over here and make a copy before you can edit any of the numbers. All right, so please make sure that you actually do that first before you start messing around with all the numbers, because the copy that I've left in the description below is the original, which means that you're not allowed to edit anything. Okay, so the very first thing I want to point out is the nice little announcement over here. This is where you usually check out all the TLDRs, and as we can see right here, Argenti is trash. Even at plus 80 with a fixed attack 5, Argenti is weaker than pretty much any 9 to 10 star weapon at plus 70. Please try to upgrade to a proper weapon ASAP. And so after reading this, you're probably scratching your head going like, oh my goodness, these are some pretty bold claims. Where are the numbers to back this up? Well, all you need to do is simply scroll down a little bit until you get to this part right here where it says Argenti attack level 5. Now, if you are using the Argenti weapon and the Efficient armors, what you want to do is click this little tab over here, and right here you can see Argenti and Efficient set. You're going to click on this, and boom, now you can see on the right side the DPS comparison. The baseline is now your Argenti weapon and the Efficient set all at enhancement level 80. And if we look at the numbers over here, literally every single baseline item is better than this set as well as this weapon. So does that mean that this weapon and this armor is absolutely trash? Personally, I think it's a good stepping stone. It's a good basis. This is the bare minimum everyone should have. So Sega kind of just forced everyone to be like, you know, we know you don't know how to augment, we know you have really trash gear, just throw all of that away and just use this as a baseline. So they have given everyone a base set of weapons as well as a base set of armors, so that this is the bare minimum you should have. So if we look over here at the melee weapon series, the one with crit potential, these are the range weapons. It gives you 13.64% more DPS with no fixer, all right? So that's really, really good. And if we look at the one that gives the AoE explosion, so this was like the twin daggers, the katana, it gives you 13.4% DPS increase, still really, really good. Now on top of that, if we scroll down over here, the melee weapons with the HP as well as the one with the PP, so this would be the hunter weapons, and these are all the technique weapons. You know, they still give you 13.13% more DPS increase, again with no fixer. So now that we actually have the raw numbers to showcase all of the different DPS increases, well, you know, the Argenti weapons don't look so good anymore. Basically, anything is better than the Argenti weapons. So if you did invest into your melee weapons like you did farm one last week, I highly recommend that you enhance it all the way to plus 80 as well as fully augment it. As for the augments themselves, I highly recommend that you just use the exact same augments in your Argenti weapon. That's Gladiosol LC, Hell Finale LC, Gigas Maste LC, Def Trippable, High El Domina LC, and again, I would switch out the Mastery 4 LC over here. I would switch this out for anything. You can even switch it to a stat 4 if you want, just to get that little bit more potency. Like maybe even the Dreadkeeper LC might be a good alternative, simply because it does increase your potency floor, especially if you're using like a Melic series or just anything that isn't a Vershmel weapon. The potency floor definitely plays a big part. But let us look at the DPS comparison when we just compare the Argenti weapons, but we actually have our Octo armors with fully maxed out augments. Then the picture looks slightly different. When we scroll over here, you can see this is our baseline, the Argenti weapon at plus 80, and you can see it paints a totally different picture over here. There are a ton of weapons over here where you get less DPS, but these are really old weapons. You know, we're talking about Kaisars, Rugged, Christias, Branyagas. Like these are really, really old weapons. So when we compare with the latest weapons, so you know, we've got Neo J, we've got Vershmel, we've got the Melics, they are still all DPS increases with no fixer, all right? So even if you do decide not to use the Effisan armors that we get for free, and you decide to use your Octo armors because, you know, you fully augmented it and you've got it to plus 80 and all of that stuff, you're still incentivized to use any other 9 to 10 star rarity weapon over the Argenti weapon. So here you go. Again, I will leave this calculator in the description below so that you can open it for yourself and start playing around with the numbers. Again, you need to go to file over here and make a copy before you can start messing around with all the numbers, or else you won't be able to adjust any of the augments over here in order to fit your personal armors and whatever you have right now. Now, before I jump into the TLDR, I want to thank Cakewalk for updating and maintaining this damage calculator, because I know it is an absolute pain in the butt to update this all the time and keep it up to date. So thank you, Cakewalk, for all of your hard work. And without this calculator, there would be no way for me to actually figure out that the Argenti weapons are actually pretty mid. They're not good at all compared to any of the current 9-star weapons. So if you do have a 9-star rarity weapon, you definitely want to use it. So what exactly is the TLDR? The TLDR is if you don't have a Vershmel weapon, you don't have a Melic weapon, you don't have a Neo A weapon with a Fixa 2 or above, you can use the Argenti weapon. The Argenti weapons are still fine. It's just that these are kind of the baseline weapons now. They kind of threw away all of your old weapons and they're like, this is the new standard. This is the gold standard. You need to have weapons like this as a bare minimum. So if you don't have anything better, it's perfectly fine to use the Argenti weapons. They're still going to be good enough for you to do 90% of the content in the game. However, if you are looking to upgrade, or if you've already invested into a Vershmel weapon, into a Neo A weapon, into a Melic weapon, into a Tisha weapon, into a Flugelguard weapon, you're going to be fine. Just continue to invest into those weapons. They are significantly better than the Argenti weapon. So I know when the Argenti weapons came out, a lot of people are very upset because they were like, Sega, I just dumped 10 million onto my weapon and now you're giving me this weapon, and it looks a lot better with the 1000 attack, the Fixa level 5, as well as all of these crazy augments. But when you actually math everything out, these weapons aren't that good actually. They lose to every existing 9-star rarity weapon at the moment. So yeah, basically if you had a Vershmel, even if you don't have a Fixa, it's still better than this. And if you farmed up a Melik weapon, even without a Fixa, every single Melik weapon with all the different weapon potentials will outperform the Argenti weapons by 13% minimum. So yeah, Melik weapons is pretty much the gold standard that you guys should be aiming for, or what I would recommend the average player to aim for. Even if you can't get a Fixa, it's still going to be better. Now for the augments themselves, I highly recommend that you do pick up all of these augments and throw them onto your Melik weapons, except for the Mastery LC. I would replace the Mastery LC with any other capsule that gives you more potency, or if you want the same amount of potency but you want floor potency, you could always consider Grand Dread Keeper LC. That is also a viable solution. Now another thing I just want to point out regarding the LC capsules, because I know a lot of people are having trouble farming for them, or you know, they were having trouble farming for them, is the actual item trader. I highly recommend that you guys come to the item trader over here and then go to the Growth Mint exchange, and right here are all of the different capsules. You are limited to 10 per week, but it's still worth picking them up because of how much Growth Mint we get every single day. We get 45 Growth Mint every single day for just doing Lucille exploration once. That's 45 Growth Mint. It's a lot of Growth Mint, and it'll allow you to buy 10 of each of these LC capsules that you want over here. Now of course you can skip the Mastery LC, we don't really need that, but everything else you should definitely buy. So that is Gladius Soul LC, High El Domina LC, Hal Finale LC, as well as the Gigas Maste LC. You can buy 10 of each every single week, so please take full advantage of that. Another thing I would highly recommend people to buy as well is going to be the TA customization discs over here. You are limited to 5 per week over here, so I highly recommend buying these. Remember, these are the B variants and not the A variants. The A variants you can just farm for very easily by just running Lucille Exploration. The B variants are a little bit more rare.
Special thanks to all the members for supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me. Thank you again.
But yeah, that's all I wanted to cover in today's video. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. If you did, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye.